When you have really good control of your pelvic floor, you can do like pelvic floor contractions like while your partner's like going down on you or like while you're having sex, and it like gets you off so fast.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. And I've done it even when he's like inside, and he like the first time I did it, my husband was like literally stopped and was like, what was that? And I was like, I'm sorry, has no one else done this before?
All right, guys, welcome back. Episode 3, 4, I'm not sure where we are, of our still unnamed podcast. What are we going to call this shit?
I don't know.
We got to think of something really clever.
Fit and Fat, working title.
Fit and Fat. All right. I can get down with that. All right.
Yeah.
So today we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're just going to like change it up a little. So we're going to start with Max and I. We'll do a little intro. We have a couple like segments planned. And then I'm going to bring in my head Ab Rehab coach later. And we're going to do some FAQs for Ab Rehab, pelvic floor related questions we get. We're going to go like a little, really in detail for those to give you guys some like case stories for like clients that we're currently working with and how we're troubleshooting and solving problems and dysfunction for those clients to get their best results and reach their goals. How are you feeling today, Max?
I'm actually feeling really good.
Is that because we had sex for the third time in a row last night?
Yeah. I'm a little bit low on bodily fluids, so yeah. Really hydrate today.
Round
really
4
hard.
coming in.
I feel like
Tonight.
it was round 4. Tonight would be
But
round 5.
the round 3 didn't count because you didn't finish, remember?
Yeah, but I was working at it for a long time.
You were sweaty.
Yeah.
Slippery.
Yeah, that was not that much.
A for effort. I'll give you A for effort.
Yeah, I felt comfortable skipping my workout. Let's put it that way.
Did you skip your workout?
No.
Oh.
No.
I'll just say, you're on a roll here.
Yeah.
What else is going on? How's work?
Work is the best it's been. You know, I was thinking, like, to me, like, August is like an anniversary for like when I started. And like last year we made a big switch to the full subscription model.
And a big switch to you taking the reins of all the companies.
Yeah, it wasn't like that binary. It's feel like it's like work took us a year to like complete that switch, but I feel like we've done it, and I feel like we're in the best space I think we've been in a really long time. So
For work?
I mean, across the board.
Yeah.
I don't think we do everything together. So I don't like you're like, oh, like this is work and that's that, and I'm like, I don't know how you draw these imaginary lines like. We do everything together.
Yeah.
So it's a really good spot. I mean, this morning, it's like I was telling Ken, it's like, listen, he's taking him to surf, and I'm working on the beach, and it's like I'm doing my dream job. Like, I have my dream son, and he's doing something I dreamt of doing growing up.
Our oldest is in surf camp. Our youngest
it's
isn't because he's still too young.
Yeah. I have to pinch myself, so.
Yeah, it is. I'm very thankful.
Yeah.
We're like so blessed. Mm-hmm. You feel okay, so
and there's so much cool shit where like that. I mean, that's probably the coolest thing is like you get in these points where it's like, hey, we have problems to solve, and they're like really important problems, and they might not be necessarily rewarding, but now all the stuff we have coming down for Q3, Q4, I am equally excited about all of it. Like we've never had this many heaters in the fucking process, like in like
I'm so stoked
under the hood at once. It's fucking sick.
And what we mean by that is we are rolling out functional medicine to Nancy Anderson Fit Nutrition app and to Birth Recovery Center, which is going to allow people to work with a functional medicine doctor at a very, very low cost and to be able to pull labs, to be able to get customized supplement routines based off of their goals and their needs through like a very thorough questionnaire. And we're also going to be rolling out nutrition on the Birth Recovery Center app, which has been like a huge want from clients for a very long time. So we're making sort of a slim down 2.0, more geared towards postnatal clients, that's going to be launching in the Breck app super soon. We've actually been making all the recipes for that at my house. Bree, my assistant's been helping me do every single recipe that's going to be in the plan. Check those off.
Yeah, I've been testing them.
Yeah, they're actually so good. Although last night I ate those things, there's fucking eggs in them. And I immediately had a stomachache.
Bree.
I was like, damn it.
Jesus.
I know. Why am I so damn sensitive?
A poll for the audience here. Earlier. What's more annoying? Having food allergies or having a spouse who has food allergies? Let us know in the comments. Because it's pretty fucking annoying.
A lot of people are intolerant to eggs. You guys just might not
realize
I
think a lot of people are intolerant to eggs. I think very few people, like you, are intolerant to just about everything. So.
That's not Okay.
it's
Listen.
annoying.
I know.
It's annoying for you too. I'm joking. Like, it's
Okay.
it's collectively annoying.
Try living it.
Yeah, no. Try living with someone with it too. Yeah,
The thing is you also have a lot of food sensitivities, but you just ignore them and eat it anyway. I just don't. I like
'cause I'm a savage.
whatever my test says,
got one
I
life.
fucking follow it.
Yeah.
If they tell me no tomatoes, I won't put one tomato in my mouth. Not one bite, unless it gets stuck in a recipe. Then, then I eat it, and then I'm like, oh,
We tried to
I
poison you.
feel it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's cool though.
Yeah.
Anything else going on?
No.
To talk about?
Just, no. Or
All right.
love.
I want to get in and talk a little bit about. We're going to do some finance questions because you guys sent a bunch of those in. Max's favorite thing to do, give us financial advice. Yeah. We are going to talk about a current event today. Let's pull it up. Where is it?
Which one?
The one about the Facebook thing.
Oh, about Instagram. Yeah,
This is stuff we can't talk about on Instagram and Facebook that we will talk about on our podcast.
it was the Kardashians. They were complaining.
What was the article you sent me?
That one. I sent you multiple ones.
Okay, so summarize it for everyone.
I didn't read the whole thing. But,
Way to prep
Okay,
for the
the
fucking
headline.
podcast.
The headline. Well, I mean, I found the article, said the prep, so. Did you do any of those things? I have the article, or the headline was that the Kardashians were lashing out against Adam Mosseri, who's the CEO or head of Instagram. And then he came out and had this video where he was explaining the changes.
Which basically the changes in Instagram are this.
Oh yeah, what are they? That's actually, I don't know what the changes are.
Yeah, so I follow Adam pretty closely. I look at all of his stuff. He annoys me a little bit because I think he's kind of full of shit. But
In what way?
just you can tell there's a lot going on behind the scenes that he ain't saying. You know what I mean? And then he rolls some stuff out that just I feel like is kind of virtue signaling, which is a little bit annoying. And then he tries to pitch things as Instagram is being really innovative for the creators because people make a living off of the platform and they want to support that and da. It's no. At the end of the day, you know that TikTok is on your fucking heels. And you know that you keep ignoring TikTok is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and then be a real threat to Instagram. And you guys don't like that. Just like when Snapchat launched, you guys also launched stories right after because you saw that people were biting on to the stories on Snapchat and they really liked that sort of quick 15-second video content or whatever, and that's when you rolled stories out. Instagram is a follower, not a leader anymore, in my
Correct.
opinion.
Yeah,
so
correct.
they're just basically trying to be TikTok. I think that is a huge mistake. Do you need to incorporate
Wait.
and prioritize Reels and your creative suite? 100%. But do you need to leave? Because what he said in his video that he released is that all video on Instagram is going to Reels. Nothing else matters. Nothing else going to be prioritized is basically what I got from that video. And that they're no longer prioritizing photographs.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But I think so the TikTok audience, in my opinion, because I have a large following on TikTok as well, about 250,000, and I've been on TikTok for a few years now. I use Instagram more because my audience has been with me for a lot longer on Instagram, and we're all a lot closer.
You have better access to.
Have better access. There's a lot of reasons why. Yeah. TikTok, it's a long story, but whatever. TikTok, I love TikTok. It's actually my favorite social media app. I personally consume more content on TikTok. I don't spend any time on Instagram. With my own stuff I do, but outside of that, I'm not following creators and stuff on Instagram that I give a fuck about. It's some family, some friends, people that work for me, I'll look at their stuff, kind of scroll through, but I'm spending time on Instagram. I am consuming content on TikTok. And what Adam was saying in his video was essentially, we're no longer a photo sharing app. We are a video app that all is going through Reels, which basically, to me, was saying, we are now TikTok. And I think that's a big mistake because there's a different audience on TikTok. I have a large audience on TikTok and a large audience on Instagram, and they don't overlap that much. I would say 20% overlap. There's a different type of person, different maybe demographic, age group, I don't know, on TikTok. It's not the same people. And people that love Instagram aren't typically the ones that love TikTok. You know what I mean? It's That's what I found, at least, from being a creator and kind of consuming a lot of content and just being in the game or whatever. And I think that Adam is doing a disservice to the people that really do love Instagram and trying to appease the people that really love TikTok to come over to Instagram. But he's sort of like, like burning the people that have been like the loyal Instagram creators or consumers in order to appease this TikTok audience. And the thing is I don't think the TikTok audience wants to come over to Instagram, personally.
That's a really confusing analysis because you just said on one hand, you're like, you can't ignore TikTok. On the other hand, you just said you can't make like TikTok because of all these reasons why. So it can't be both of those
Yes,
things.
it can. 100%. We need a better creative suite on Reels. Your Reels creative suite sucks dick. Okay? TikTok creative suite for TikToks.
Make
Short.
sure to tag them on that clip.
Don't tag. Don't clip this.
Actually, I think your shadow banning sucks. That's what sucks. It's the creator suite's the creator suite. You're not going to teach old dog new tricks.
The creative suite is so bad, Max. You don't understand.
No. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying you cannot teach old dog new tricks. The Instagram people are fucking flat lay filters. Yes, no. They're not creative. The younger generation on TikTok has more creativity in their fucking pinky.
Yes, they do.
Than your generation has in their entire body.
I can't stand it. You know what I mean?
They're so fucking talentless.
They are.
It blows my gourd.
Oh my God, they are.
Like, it's all that Gary Vee, like, be early. Being early is not a skill.
Dude,
it's called luck.
I don't
like he's
listen,
just like
I'm not going to hate on anyone for putting themselves out there and trying to do reels and trying to create content, whatever. And you're not going to hit a home run every time. I hear you. And I give you credit for even trying. But oh my God, you guys are so bad at doing reels and TikToks on Instagram. Like, the lip syncing is off. Like, you look like you're acting. Like, just like get out there. It's like, and you go on TikTok and it's just like, every fucking video, you're like 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10. On Instagram, I have secondhand embarrassment looking at the reels. Yeah. They're presenting these accounts that try to tell you the new trends that are coming up with different sounds on Instagram. And they're like, hey guys, this new sound that creators are doing, like, here's how you do this trend. And I'm like, bitch, this trend was on TikTok 18 months ago, and we're all sick of it. We've done trend, we've changed the trend, we've changed the sound, and then changed the trend, and reused it, and recycled it. We're done with it. Move on. New sound. Like, you're out of your league. You're out of your league. It drives me crazy. That's one of the reasons why I can't be on Instagram anymore, because they only feed you reels, and every reel I see, I mean, not everyone, but most of them are so bad. They're so bad, and the sound are old, recycled TikTok trends that no one wants to hear anymore. We're done with it. Let's move on and create something new. Let's do that.
Yeah, it's just monkey see, monkey do at the end of the day. Like,
but monkey see, monkey do happens on TikTok too.
Oh,
but it's a million times better. But no,
it's the worst on TikTok.
But at least everyone gets it on TikTok. Like, everyone knows the deal on TikTok. Someone started this funny sound, this funny trend, and now everyone's going to do their own take on that funny trend. Some people are going to copy it exactly. Some people are going to add their own swag. Some people are going to whatever. On Instagram, it's just like, you can just tell they're also not on TikTok. And they think they're doing this like new, innovative, whatever, and it's stale, recycled, old, played out. And on top of that, you don't even look good doing it. That's what drives me nuts. It drives me nuts.
Yeah. But I don't know. At the end of the day, TikTok it's ingrained in its DNA. It was musically, it did music voiceovers.
Yeah.
It was designed for people to copy other people's work.
Yeah.
Like, on one hand, I'm like, this is just the most embarrassing, like, monkey see, monkey do thing that we have in our society. And on the other hand, I'm like, the people on there are like the top, like, I'm talking about talent, not like views. Because people are like, oh, this person's such a big following, they're so talented. It's like, no, those are often the least talented people. They were just there first. Like, there are some people on there that are incredibly talented, doing original audios
TikTok?
from scratch. Yeah, from scratch. You just don't see that. And part of it's the creator suite. So, I mean, at the end of the day, the interesting part that I took about from that article was that
Summarize what the article said,
but
though.
they were so the article said, I'm guessing everything you said because you watched the video in reference to the article, but it was juxtaposed with the Kardashians complaining about it, which is one of the wildest things you could complain about, because these people made billions of dollars or created value created value off this platform. Like they sell knockoff white label supplements, clothing, cosmetics, all at the push of a button. And they have no marketing budgets. Their marketing budgets are pale in comparison because it's all right in front of you. So they should be kissing his fucking feet for creating this. And no, not waiting. And when I read it, I wanted to be like, listen, you're not the customer. You are the product. You've just monetized the platform better than really anybody else has.
But
the customers pay to serve ads. You are the product.
Yeah.
Anyone out there shooting TikToks, shooting Reels, you are not the customer.
Yeah.
You are the product. And you're working for free. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. That is the platform.
Let me give you a different perspective here. I think what he's saying is right, but you listen.
Well, it is right. It's not wrong. You can have.
Am I allowed to talk?
I know, but you can't be like you're saying right. What I'm saying is factual. So like,
it's not. You're missing context though.
Okay.
So, and I want to just say out of the gate, I don't like, watch, or care about the Kardashians for better or worse. If they do great and accomplish great things, cool.
Well, you used to watch their show.
No, I did. I mean, 10 years ago when it first came out, I watched it a little bit. But, like, that was, like, literally, like, season, like, 1, you know? I don't know what they're up to or whatever. Like, I know they've become very successful and good for them. But if they weren't successful, I don't care either. Like, I just don't really have any skin in the game. I have to say, though, yes, they've used their audiences or people that follow them on Instagram, and then they've pitched their own white labeled products to them, which like white label basically means it's the same shit everyone else is selling. They just slap their brand name on it. And now, you know, everyone wants it because it's like Kylie's lip kit or whatever, but like a million other people have that probably the same lip kit. It's the same shit.
Yeah.
However, I will give them credit because it really doesn't matter how many followers you have on Instagram. If your followers aren't connected and engaged with you and trust you, they're not going to buy your products or want to work with you or whatever. Like, you have to create some sort of bond there. And they have done it. I mean, Kylie, for example, I don't understand how she's so famous, but cool. Like, she must have struck a chord with her younger, like
She's
that
Kim's
age
sister.
group.
You know, that's how she's famous.
What?
She's Kim's sister.
No, I know how she's famous, but she's like more famous than Kim. That doesn't make sense to me. Like, I think like Courtney and Khloe. I mean, I'm also 37. I'm their age. But Kylie has clearly struck a chord with her age group of like people, and she's become bigger than Kim, I'm pretty sure. I mean, or close to it. And Kim is really famous. I mean, arguably maybe like the most famous person in the world. And she's created some sort of bond or whatever to her audience, where her audience they are infatuated. They will buy whatever she puts out there. So I have to give them credit for that, for creating a brand that's contagious or that's alluring to people, that they want to like come in and be a part of that or wear what she's wearing, or whether it's fake, which it is, or real. I mean, she has done that. She has created a brand that is contagious and people want to be a part and buy those products. I mean, you got to give them credit there. And maybe it's the writers of the show that created that character that people love, or I don't know what it is, but something's working for them. So you can't just say like, oh, they were on this TV show, Instagram gave them all these followers and this platform, and then they cashed in on it, and that was it. It's like, I mean, they did do something to get those followers to actually convert and like buy those products. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they created an Instagram post. I mean, like, what is the
like you
barrier
can have a lot of followers and not sell and not be able to convert anyone. I've seen so many people do that over the years. I had this one chick who I had like 20,000 followers or something, and she worked out at my same gym. She was dating with my friend, and she had like 300,000 followers. And she was also a trainer, not like a very good one. And she would try to like get people from her audience out of those 300,000 followers to like buy her products or work with her. And I remember I was talking to my friend about it because I was also doing the same thing, but I only had 20,000 followers. And I was telling him, yeah, I have like 500 signups at least every single month, and I'm not even running ads. She couldn't even get 1 or 2 clients out of her posts. Like, couldn't get anything out of it. And I just think that's such a good example of how the connection and like the trust you build within your community really matters. And it's really, your audience is worth nothing if you don't have a good relationship with them, and they won't convert if they don't trust you. So obviously they trust them.
I don't think that's
So
necessarily true. So I mean, I guess I don't think that's a rebuttal to my argument, because I also agree
It's
that
not a
they're
rebuttal.
very
I just said you were missing
business savvy.
context, and I wanted to add a little context.
But I don't think that's context. Like, to me, just like, it's not saying that, like, I'm not suggesting that they're not business savvy. I think they're very intelligent. Like, you know, like the Logan Pauls of the world. I think they were two things. They are early and they are savvy. I just think when you look back at this point in time, you're not going to say like, wow, like these impressive entrepreneurs, like, how did they do it? It's like, no, they were early, and they had, you know, sex with the right people on camera. They had the right time to post things. They were in the right circles, right? Like with the whole Paris Hilton thing. They're obviously from a very affluent Los Angeles family. Like, I'm not taking away from them, but when you publish when Forbes publishes an article talking about how Kylie or Kendall, I don't know which one, is like the youngest self-made woman billionaire or whatever, it's like, that's missing context.
Oh yeah, that's missing
like
context.
That's missing a fuck ton of context. Yeah. It's like these people who have these $100 million companies where it's just like a high-paying job for themselves. They're like, I'm a billionaire. It's like, you're not a billionaire. You can call yourself a billionaire. There's just so much there's so much posturing and like fakeness out there. And to me, like, so when you're like, yeah, they like fostered a bond, and like, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, do you know anyone who watches them? They're like, yeah, like, I just feel like Kim's speaking to me like every time she talks, and it's like, no, like, they're like, it's like a car wreck. You like want to see what's gonna happen next, or you turn your head. So like, you know, the time is the creators have more power now than they ever have, and they're the first people in that space, like. You see, and that's why you see, like, wait, The Rock's doing tequila. You know, there's so many different instances of people with a platform just capturing value by white labeling the same shit that's already out there. And that drives me insane. Because it's like, does nothing to help people or progress, or it just drives me wild. It really, really makes me...
So Kendall, who's our like project manager on our team, she sent me this video last night off of TikTok, and essentially, like, we think, or allegedly, word on the street is that the Kardashians are making their own version of Instagram. And that makes more sense to me than why they're making like a big fuss about not liking Instagram or not liking where Instagram is heading. I don't even know what they don't like about Instagram. I didn't even like read that far to figure it out, but for them to say publicly like that, we are not happy with what Instagram is doing, only makes sense to do, in my opinion, if they have something in the works where they're going to be creating their own social media platform. If they created their own social media platform, I do think that it has a real chance to have legs, you know? Like,
no chance.
Why?
No chance. Like, this is another wild thing that I think, like, thought that people have is, like, you can just use your influence to do something that was incredibly hard to do in the first place. Do you realize how many people were out creating social media platforms? It's like thinking that like the Starbucks was like the only person trying to solve like quick service coffee. There were a bunch of brands trying to do it. Starbucks just did it really well. And they, by the way, Howard Schultz like started Pete's, or he was like with the founders of Pete's. So it's like to think, and this is the same with like, I mean, so Trump's trying to create his platform as well, right? There's a lot of people trying to do something like this, and there's no chance. Like it doesn't matter how good or talented or smart these people think they are to like recreate Twitter or recreate Facebook or Instagram. There's like almost 0% chance in my opinion you can do that. TikTok did not.
Yeah, they did. They created a new social media platform that is becoming a real competitor to Instagram.
Yeah. Right. But like ByteDance, like that parent company did that, and they created Musical.ly, and then it merged into TikTok, and it took them like 8 years. I mean, the thing is, it's not like users care about the actual functionality and the network effects of the platform, not who runs the platform. It's like when people come to like Web3 and they like, oh, let's make a decentralized version of Facebook or Twitter, and it's like nobody wants that. Like nobody's asking for that. Nobody needs that. These companies are they achieve these trajectories over many years, and most of them fail.
Yeah.
So like it's not like making like the technology in the space is so new. It's not like making cosmetics. It's not like making alcohol. It's not like white labeling protein powder, right?
Yeah.
Like the guys at Full Send. They're out of their league. They're so far outside of their league. I can't even tell you how far outside of it is. And it might work. I could be wrong, but like I think there's zero chance.
I'm an optimist. You know what I mean? Like I like to
That's why we're a good team.
see the glass half full. If someone has a dream, I'm gonna believe in your dream too, and I'm gonna cheer you on.
And you'll be the first one to be on there to create content. If
Yeah, and inside, I'm really gonna be rooting for you.
Yeah, sign us
I
up.
want to see you succeed.
A beta tester right here.
Yeah. So from my perspective, like, never say never. I mean, who would have thought? I mean, okay, listen. Let me just say, I'm not a Kardashian fan. But the Kardashians are sort of like, don't hate me, but like this is reality. They're like American royalty somehow. Like they are so famous and so wealthy and are
so talentless,
admired.
like the royal family.
But like they have heavy influence. I think out of any celebrity family or politician or I think they have the most influence out of anyone ever. Anywhere in the world, in my opinion. I can't think of anyone who has more pull than them. So who would have thought that would have all started with Kim purposefully leaking a sex tape with Brandy's brother? Isn't that who it was? Ray J. Brandy's
Dude, how about
brother.
Ray J got the short end of that stick?
Yeah.
Imagine being Ray J.
Poor
We don't
Ray
talk
J.
about that. Seriously.
They should be paying him royalties for the rest of his damn life.
Seriously.
I mean, he should be making at least $1 billion.
And it's just like wild, the sign of the times too. And that's what I talk about too. It's like timing is everything. Any woman who was publicly like that on a sex tape previous to her would have been just ridiculed.
I know.
Like
she pulled it off.
absolutely ridiculed. Like just imagine the change. It's like you're outcast in society. You're like, oh, you could never recover from that previously. Or you have this bad girl image that no one respects. It's kind of like you're a porn star. It's like, and then she just turned like, wait a second. That's why I think I give the mom a lot of credit. Like, she took that and ran with that bitch.
Fucking ran.
She ran with it.
12-5. Let's go.
Seriously.
Like, to the finish line.
God bless.
And I mean, I have no hate. The only thing that bothers me about the Kardashians, I won't hate on them for anything. Sex tape, whatever. Like that was your play to get famous and get what you want. Like you made it work. Like, no laws are broke or whatever. The only thing that bothers me about them is they straight up lie about the amount of work that they have done to their bodies. And I think that is so fucked up. Like, just admit it. If you get Botox, if you had a nose job, if you get butt implants, just say, I did that.
Yeah.
Like, why put it out there in the world to make it look like you have a body that is attainable when it very, very clearly is not naturally obtainable? Not. There's just no way. And that's the only thing that bothers me about them, that I will say. I wish they would just fucking be honest. Yeah, I get work done. Yeah, I've done a nose. I mean, they don't have to say what they've done. Just say like, yeah, I've had work done and I choose to keep it private. Just put it out there that your body is not from working out in the gym, because everyone knows it's fucking not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think these aren't the people we should be looking up to.
It's not about, I don't look up to anyone, but there's a lot of people that do, and there's nothing that we could do to change that. So
I think we can. I think not directly to them, but like, I mean, I think to me, I think that authenticity is in short supply, and that's why you see people who are authentic build these followings over time. Because to me, what I think where I delineate like these places of it creating and capturing value is that there are some people that are successful mostly due to luck, and a lot of people were successful a little bit due to luck and a lot of it due to hard work. And I don't look at those people and I'm like, yeah, you know what? They're just so hardworking. Like they have these great values and I want to be just like them when I grow up. Like, no. And that's like the same of like most people see on TV and social media. And it's like, but the people who are authentic, and authenticity takes fucking nuts. And it takes balls, because, I mean, you know this because you receive a shit ton of blowback from fucking trolls who are losers, which is part of it, right? And in one hand, you could see this could be us trolling them, right? But at the end of the day, if you're authentic, on average, you will be successful. And you can at least look yourself in the mirror and not worry about like, we're on this podcast when I'm like, what should I say? Should I say this? Should it be funny? Should we talk about that? Should this off limits? It's like, no, this is how we would talk if 0 people were listening. And, people don't do that, right? They create this filter and they're like, oh, I'm going to say this because people like that. And that's what social media is. It's like Pavlov's dog. It's the ringing of the bell and the meat paste, right? It's, I'm going to do this. I get a bunch of likes. I'm going to keep doing that one thing. And that's the challenge I think we've seen people on TikTok is they're known for their thing. And they just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And then they're like, wow, I don't want to fucking do this one thing forever that I'm known for. And they do something else. And you're like, no. Go back to that thing. Like, you're not that guy. You're the guy wearing the funny suit or this guy who does voiceovers. Like, we don't want to hear your fucking opinion.
Yeah.
We want you to dance. Like,
yeah.
and it's I don't envy any of that. I mean, I don't envy. That's a lot of pressure to be able to have to like perform like that all the time. So I don't envy any of them in that regard.
So anyway, maybe a new social media platform is coming up from the Kardashians. Who knows? Allegedly, word on the street is people are putting together the pieces of a couple different things and thinking that maybe they're actually working on launching a social media platform. If they do, Nancy Anderson Fit, come find me. I'll be there. I'll be making some new content. I'll just, not because I love the Kardashians, but because like it's my job to stay on top of what's going on. It's like when TikTok was becoming the biggest thing, I was like thinking about it for a while. Think about back in 2018, 17, 18. Like, should I get on? Should I start doing content? Like starting from scratch? Like whatever. And then I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. I need to get on. I need to learn how to do these trends, do more video, create content in a different way that's on Instagram and Facebook. And there were so many people that I followed on Instagram that were like, no. Like they were kind of like above that. Like that's just like what the kids are doing. Like I'm talking about like influencers I used to follow on Instagram. And all of those influencers are done. Like their days are over.
Yeah, you're like, no, I'm gonna keep doing outfit of the days and flat lays, and it's and like, okay.
There is very little. There's a very small percentage of influencers on Instagram that survived. I mean, have you noticed that too? Yeah. It's kind of crazy. Like they used to have the highest engagement. Like so many brands were partnering with them, and it's just fucking gone, dead. And if they would have, I think, gotten on TikTok and evolved with social media, because that's what you have to do when you're in this space of like tech, is like if you don't adapt, you die, in my opinion. And a lot of them did.
Well, they die faster, and I think that's when you look at TikTok. The companies look at like, oh, they're so impressive. They're quickest to 1 billion users, and it's like that's not.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a good thing. Like, yeah, that's great for you, but like. That just means when it falls, it's going to fall that much faster. So you have the incumbents like Facebook, Instagram, Google, YouTube, and TikTok is, a juggernaut for sure. And it's not going anywhere anytime soon. But the list of companies that have tried and will fail will always be massively longer than the ones that actually make it. And we just people don't think about that. They're like, oh, I'm just going to build a Twitter. And it's like, that's not how it works. Like, building the Twitter is the easy part. Acquiring hundreds of millions of users is extremely difficult. And even on top of that, you have to monetize it. So, like, there's levels to this, and it's, hey, I don't know. I'm a little bit more pragmatic about that kind of stuff. Like,
yeah. So to be continued, I guess. We'll see. But we have a couple of finance questions before we wrap up with you. We wanted to ask you. First question. Hi, Max.
Hello.
We have money saved in hopes of investing in a rental property, but is now a bad time to buy? How do you make your rental property decisions?
Yeah, good question. I mean, it's a very broad question.
I feel like broad would be good because maybe it would add value to more people.
Okay. One, I don't believe in timing the market. I think that is for just people who are not
like novice.
No, it's just I would always like talk to people who would ask me like, hey, I'm not going to buy now. I'm going to wait for the next recession. Like, how many times have you heard someone say that? And just like think about what they're saying. Like that's not how it works. Like hindsight 2020. So real estate's a get rich slow business. There is never a good or a bad time to buy real estate. so long as you do not over lever. So if you're putting 20% down and you can carry your mortgage with your income plus a little bit extra, whatever your debt service ratio is, probably hopefully 1.25. But you can, property values are going to go up over 10, 20, 30-year horizons. The question is, do you want appreciation? Do you want cash flow? I think those are the things. So you say, no, there's not a bad time to buy. Because think about now, if you buy, rates are up. But we've been saying for freaking 12 years that they're going up, and they were wrong every year except this year. So if you can buy it and it makes sense in cash flows now, when rates go down, you refinance. And if rates go up, you're great because you just locked in a 30-year fixed. So timing the market is really dumb. I would say that looking at being really comfortable and knowing the market is key. You see so many people buying stuff out of state where they have never seen it or don't know the area and or don't have the right management team in place. That's where I think you can really get burnt. I think, to me, I'm an old school real estate guy. I think real estate's a local game. And just know the market. Don't overlever. You'll be okay. Follow those rules.
Yeah. So Max, actually, because we have a few rental properties ourselves, and when I'm looking at a property that I want to buy, he's got this just explain our little very basic.
Well, it's a P&L. It's net operating income. So you just look at revenue minus expenses, and then that's left over for debt service, and the rest you get to take home. I mean, the greatest thing about owning real estate is debt. When somebody tells you that they own real estate debt free as a flex, they have no clue what they're talking about. It's the dumbest thing you could possibly do with real estate, because you get, especially for the last 12 years, free money from the banks with low to no interest loans. And that just juices the cash flow, right? So all these things where the rate's rising, it's about fucking time. We can't his whole fiscal and policy and monetary policy stuff is just it's out of control. And now we're finally starting to rein it in, which is really great. And everyone's all worried. But it's a good thing. But yeah, I mean, you look at you just put I would put no more than 20% down, and then make sure you can cash flow on that over your debt service, and you don't have to have a little bit of stuff left in the bank for capital reserves, and just hold on to it forever. I would never buy anything that I don't want to give to the kids. I mean, a great quote for Eric Sassamontag, one of my mentors in business school, was he's like, listen, you can come to UCLA Anderson. I can teach you a lot of fancy real estate strategies, none of which will probably be better than buying and holding forever. And I think that's so true about real estate. You can create generational wealth. The great thing out here is you have these families that are in Orange County, at least, that are literal billionaires. And you're wow, there's real estate giants. And people, if you peel back the lineage, they, the Seegerstroms were pea farmers that got fucking interstates built through their land. Yeah, on one hand, you're oh, that's very savvy real estate. On the other hand, it's oh yeah, 3 generations. I was a farmer in this generation. In my 3rd generation or 4th or whatever it is, they own the largest mall in the United States. And it's yeah, that's how it works. It happens over generations. Nobody buys a deal like these deals. You buy them and you're on month 1, we just blew through a whole CapEx of this home in Dallas. Right? And we're well, fuck.
That's always how it is, though.
Always.
This is the thing I was going to say, is when you're doing your P&L to think about if you're going to buy a property or not, if it's a rental property, overestimate your expenses on that house. Don't be oh, really, realistically, it's only this much for, the upkeep and only this much for the insurance. Grossly overestimate, because every time you buy a property, that first quarter, you're dumping money.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
There are issues with the house that you don't know about. There are things that are broken that you don't know about that is still past inspection. The old owner said everything was great. But then you get in there, and whether it's coincidence or things just weren't mentioned, there's issues with the house. We just bought a couple months ago, bought this house, another house in Dallas. And it's a high-end rental, basically. And fucking out of the gate, the craziest shit happened. There was a hole in the attic that rodents and fucking creatures were coming in. They were dropping other feces everywhere. My tenants were all freaked out. Can't go back to the house until it's fixed. Fix that. Then there was an air conditioning issue where the master wasn't cooling down. And in Texas, that's a fucking problem because it's so hot, 110 degrees in the summertime. And then the fridge broke on day 1, completely kaput. And in the lease, I'm not responsible, but I didn't want to start off on the wrong foot with the tenant. So I said, I'm just going to replace the fridge, and then they can start with a fresh fridge. And if this one breaks, it's on them, But I didn't want them coming into the house and then me being sorry, no, my problem. But it didn't even work the first day. And then in the middle of the night, one night, this is the first like 2 months they were there, the chandelier, which has been hanging in the dining room for literally almost 20 years, came crashing down on their brand new dining room table and broke, like scared the shit out of them at like 2 a.m. And just like, and I just got like the problem after problem, like text message after text message. I'm like, fuck, it's another issue with the Frisco house. But then you hit a stride, and now I haven't heard from my tenants in like a while, and I probably won't for like a long time. And now we'll start making money. But that first quarter, I had to like dump all this money into that house, and it was just like so annoying. But it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme because I overestimated the cost it was going to take to get the property anyway. And we have zero plans on selling the house in our lifetime, basically.
Yeah, give it to the kids.
And also, our mortgage on that house is much less than the rent we get. You know what I mean? So there's, in the short term, I had to dump a bunch of money in, and I wasn't relying on getting that money out. I wasn't relying on making a profit month one. And because of that, it's okay. It's not a big deal. I'm not stressed because I was like smart going into it. So I just say overestimate it. Think that there's going to be issues going in, that you're going to have to dump another 10 grand in or whatever. We had foundation issues. There's all kinds of stuff. Yeah. But it doesn't really matter because we're going to hold on to the house for 30 years and give it to our kids. So it's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question. Ready? This is kind of a tricky one. I don't know. Okay. We're upside down on a mortgage where the home has mold damage. We can't afford to fix to do the repairs for mold. We can list the house and probably still end up owing, or we can just give it back to the bank. What are the pros and the cons? Any other options that you might know of? What would you do?
Yeah, I would get out from under it.
Give it to the bank?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know specifically whether it's a short sale or whether you can sell it. I mean, I don't think it makes sense to own a house that you're not underwater in the mortgage, so it makes even less sense to own it.
Yeah, but now they're in this situation, and what should they do?
Yeah, I mean, sell it. I don't know why. Like you would never keep an asset that you have an asset or a liability that costs more than the asset value.
But they'll still owe on the mortgage if they sell it. They're saying so. You would still choose to do that.
Because you would. Because it always makes sense not to own it. So I was saying don't own it, right? And then versus you can own it. Like just think of things in like binary. You can own it or not own it. So owning it or not owning it, it's the same price whether you own it or not. It doesn't change the asset value.
But I think from their perspective, like us non-financial minds, we're thinking we're living here anyway, and if we didn't live here, we'd be paying rent somewhere else. So we might as well just keep living here and own it and just keep paying this mortgage off, Or do I sell it, still owe money to the bank that I have to pay every month, and then also have to pay a rent somewhere else? I think that's probably their mentality.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know how to. Yeah. Okay.
But Max is saying, doesn't matter if you still do a short sale. You're saying do a short sale?
It's just you call it short sales, where you can sell it yourself, or the bank sells it, or either way, you're gonna.
Is that the same as a foreclosure?
No, foreclosure is when you stop paying.
Oh, okay.
And the bank comes and takes your house.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I would. There's a lot of context missing from a lot of these questions. So I would assume that the mold damage to me is you're buying and selling it as is anyway, so that wouldn't factor into it. But if you're underwater in your mortgage, which I don't know how that would be possible, because rates have been low for 12 years. So it's what are your
happened in the very first house I bought. I still own that house, I guess, technically.
But you bought the house and it's less.
I bought the house. 2008 happened. So I bought the house for $250. 2008 happened. The value went down to $210, and then still to this day, I probably could sell it for $250. It's so bad.
But that's so in that sense, there's that is a lot of people were underwater in 2008.
Yeah.
Very few people were underwater in 2022.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's a very odd thing. But okay, let's just take your anecdote for example, right? So if that's your house in Baltimore, right, that we sold, there's probably really good rents around. like if the asset values are really low, like rents and asset values are going to be somewhat
Baltimore City,
correlated.
Maryland is not the best place to like reference because there's not. Like it's a shithole through and through. I love you, you're from Baltimore, but I'm from there, so I can say it. It ain't good, you know what I mean? And the city is getting worse and worse and worse. It's dangerous. My sister won't even go into the city anymore, and that's wild because we used to both live down there. So that's a bad example, because we don't really. I say we because my sister and I bought it together. She bought me out. My name is still on the mortgage, but she's technically responsible for it. They barely cover the mortgage.
Yeah,
now
but I don't think it's a bad
rent.
example because I think that it'd be interesting to see where this is like geographically because like there are cities out. My thing, there are a lot of cities out there and there are people out there where there's not many macroeconomic headwind or tailwinds, right? So like you could be underwater in something in one of these third or fourth tier cities and you got to look at the future, right? So like the thing is what you paid for it and what it's worth and what the moral shit, all that shit's a sunk cost. Like you're looking at what am I doing to go forward, right? So I would say take the loss and then find a cheaper lease, pay off take the money you're probably going to save for a lease and then pay off your debt. This thing is that's a better question for Dave Ramsey because Dave Ramsey teaches people how not to be poor. Like he doesn't teach people how to be rich or how to spend. He's the king of I bought this studio for $2 million and all in cash. It's like that's the dumbest. Like just think about what you're saying.
You're
get an SBA loan for 90%.
Right now that love Dave Ramsey.
But just think about. But the thing is, Dave Ramsey, if you have credit card debt, Dave's probably your guy. Right? He's like, hey, but he's created his bones off keeping people in poverty and not helping them. This is the dumbest advice. Just pay off the smallest one first. That way it's a mental thing to get you to pay off your debts. It's like, no, you pay off the one with the biggest fucking rate. It's just it's just dumb advice. And people like that have made so much money off swindling and grifting people. But that I think to me, I don't watch his stuff. But if someone in this situation, I'd be like, I don't have the tools to be like, here's how you're going to save money and pay off credit card debt. I've never had any debt. I've never spent anything outside of what I own. We've used credit. We've never had a single balance on our credit card. So I've always been like that. Just very frugal. So I can't really offer advice on how to
I didn't grow up like this. I know how this happens. It happens because you take out a second mortgage and then you use that second mortgage to do something that doesn't add value to the house. And then all of a sudden your house is not worth what your mortgage is because you've taken out a second and maybe a third mortgage. There's a lot of ways that I think that it's happened. My parents taught me that, I just want to say, just being in health, the mold damage thing, I want you to go to survivingmold.com and take the VCS screening test for you and everyone in the family. It's an online test you can do. It's a vision test, and it tells you how high your mold exposure is. And if you're having health issues because of that mold exposure, I would ditch the house and take whatever you need to do to pay the bank off, whatever loss you're going to take. I would take it because mold exposure over time can cause so many health issues for you. I don't know if you have kids, but for your kids too. And you got to get out of that, in my opinion, if you can. So from my perspective, not as a finance person, I'm saying get the fuck out, take the loss that you have to take, and then treat the mold. There's natural supplements that you can take to help treat the mold.
If you treat your mold,
treat the mold in your body. Yeah, I'm sorry.
You don't own the house anymore.
I will. I forget what it's called. I have it upstairs. It's BTS or what is that supplement? I forget. But if you DM me, I will share it with you. But maybe also see a functional medicine doctor because mold exposure is so bad for your body long term. So I just want to say that. But cool. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm gonna phase you. I'm gonna kick you off stage here and bring in Lindsey, who's our head Ab Rehab coach. I love you so much. And
I love you so much too.
We'll see you next week.
I'll be here.
Okay.
I love you.
Love you. All right, welcome back, guys. We have a very special guest today. This is our head trainer, Lindsey Davis. She is head trainer in the Ab Rehab and Ab Rehab products. So she manages our Ab Rehab team. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Welcome to my very fancy studio. Do you like what we're working with here?
It's super fancy, guys, behind the cameras.
Behind the cameras, there are surfboards, car seats, bikes, strollers, the whole thing. This is actually my garage, if you can't tell. So, cool. So, I mean, let's maybe introduce you first, give a little background, what you do for us, just for those of them that don't.
Yeah. So I've been in the fitness industry for probably 6 or 8 years, and I was a head trainer for a big fitness brand, and then started shooting workouts for Nancy, and then it came on as the head trainer for Ab Rehab. So I manage our team of 10 coaches, manage every in and out, updating the product, working with clients, and so Ab Rehab is my baby now. We'll work hard on it.
Yeah, I know. What's it like working for me?
I mean,
No
she's
pressure.
all right. I'm just kidding. Nancy is the best boss. She does not micromanage. She's very like, get your shit done. And I love that because I'm someone that like works hard and wants to like own my stuff. And she just like allows that freedom and like also provides phenomenal feedback and growth. And she's the best boss ever.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I'm paying her literally to say it.
No, you're not.
I was just interviewing someone this morning, and I literally gave them that same thing. I was like, listen, I give everyone this spiel coming on board. We don't micromanage. But that also means that if you can't get your shit done without anyone looking, you will not last here.
Exactly.
To be just completely transparent, you know what I mean? I mean, I said it in a nice way. But so I was thinking for today, we would kind of give Lindsey some questions from real clients that we have inside of the Ab Rehab right now in our Birth Recovery Center app. And kind of like more like difficult, like detailed questions about dysfunction or issues that clients are having and how we went about or are going about actually working with them to solve that dysfunction, to help bring their symptoms around to like what is the root cause of it and sort of how we go about addressing those things in the Ab Rehab. I think a lot of times people think Ab Rehab and they think of ab exercises, but really when treating the core canister and the pelvic floor and diastasis, it really isn't about the exercises you're doing. It's about so much more than that. So I was hoping that today we'll be able to kind of put those pieces together for a lot of people listening and also add value by maybe helping you realize that some of the symptoms that you're having are actually correlated to core and pelvic floor dysfunction or issues that you may be having to help you guys learn a little bit more and maybe have some takeaways that you can apply to your own situations. So I'm just going to kind of shoot some questions over to you and then we'll kind of get your thoughts of like what you do in the app. I mean, Lindsey, there's like, we have a lot of clients, so Lindsey doesn't see every single one, but she does have tabs on a lot of the situations. So hopefully a lot of these will be fresh in your mind. Yeah. But we'll kind of start with like, let's start with an easy one about sway back posture.
Okay.
So I find my glutes are clenched all the time and my hips also jet forward.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah. The bigger answer is your body's looking for stability. So your body, in pregnancy especially, your hips need to spill forward. And even prior to pregnancy, you've talked about this a ton, like we naturally kind of spill forward into an anterior pelvic tilt. And so your body's looking for how to stabilize because now your core is lengthened in that tilt. So we're looking for stability by clenching under. So it seems kind of counterintuitive. You're like, how can I have both? But it makes sense when you understand how your body works and the body mechanics. So we see a lot of clients with that.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, anterior pelvic tilt is definitely something that I have had, and we see so many clients with it. And I think, you know, when you're looking at like treating a posture issue and why we do that out of the gate, like when you come into the Ab Rehab, posture is we're addressing your posture in week 1. And I think that sets us apart from a lot of other programs that are out there. People aren't addressing that out of the gate. They're going right into ab exercises or right into breathing. And I think that is actually doing them a huge disservice because if you just give someone the knowledge and the awareness of what posture should be, how to align your body properly, how to put weight in your feet properly, how to get your weight back so you're not putting all your weight forward on your toes, that you're not jetting forward, you're not putting extra pressure into the linea alba. That alone is going to start healing for you. So if you have diastasis and an anterior pelvic tilt, rib flare, sway back posture, all these things. If we could just give you the awareness of how to find neutral in your pelvis, how to get your ribs down, how to get your ribs stacked over your pelvis, how to stand properly, how to work on that forward head posture or the kyphosis that you're having, which kyphosis is basically like this, you know, when someone's sitting like this, that's called kyphosis. that alone is going to start healing you because you're going to naturally be managing pressure better in your body throughout any load of anything you're doing all day long. And that doesn't mean just exercise. Like people tend to think like, oh, I just need to do these exercises for this 30 minutes and then, it's going to like fix everything for me. When really like we try to teach in the ab rehab that out of the gate, like your breathing and your posture, your alignment is the foundation of healing and function and being able to provide stability in your body. And you can't fully heal forever without addressing those things, which is why for us, it is so important to get that out of the gate. So you come in, we literally look at your posture, and then a coach returns like a video message to you that tells you what posture you're falling into. Like, are you having a high hinge point? Are you anterior pelvic tilt? Are you doing sway back? Is that like your natural posture? And then we teach you how to strengthen the muscles that are weak, that need to be stronger to hold you into a better neutral alignment with better posture. That's going to help your body easier manage that pressure that will provide more healing for you out of the gate. And then sometimes also with the posture thing is you have muscles that are so short and so tight that you're literally stuck in a posture that's suboptimal. And we want to release those muscles, strengthen the muscles that are weak, and then provide awareness for you to go throughout your day, not just the 30 minutes that you're working out, but the other 24 and a half hours throughout the day, that you're able to check in with yourself and say, am I aligned? Am I stabilizing my weight properly through my feet? Am I locking out my knees? Like, am I jetting my head forward? Am I slouching at the top, And kind of add that accountability in for you. And that alone will start healing you out of the gate, which I think a lot of people overlook that.
Absolutely. Posture is like not only habitual, but it's also muscle imbalances. So it's like we're addressing that inside Ab Rehab. We're looking at release work and strengthening work to change your structure. But if your habit is to fall back into here when we're sitting on the couch, or your habit is to spill forward, it's going to be really hard to make that long-term change stick. So it's like putting those pieces together for the other 24 hours in your day to really get you long-term results. And that's what we're focused on.
Yeah, totally. Okay, next question. Okay, so this is a client in the Ab Rehab. So she's doing the Ab Rehab and has seen some results, but she's still feeling that around her umbilical, like her belly button area, it still feels really squishy in the linea alba. There's still some separation there. How does she specifically strengthen this more? The top and the bottom of my DR is firmer and almost closed. So just for context real quick, when she says firmer and squishy, she's talking about the integrity of the linea alba, which is the connective tissue that bring that rectus together. So she's saying that the top and the bottom, the ab separation has closed, and the linea alba integrity is now firm, which is what we consider healed. And where she isn't fully healed yet is in the umbilical, where she still feels squishy and she still feels a separation, which is very common.
Very, very, very common. The way I like to describe it and what we tell our clients is that your umbilical is already a hole in that connective tissue. So when you become pregnant, that area is more likely to be lengthened. It's more vulnerable to be stretched. So when you come to us and we're starting to heal, it's going to take a little bit longer because it was more vulnerable. It was the biggest point of belly. So it's really common for us to see that like top and bottom to heal kind of first, or to start to at least firm first. So whenever I get a client that comes to me that's like, okay, I'm still feeling this squishy, my first question is, are we starting to feel firmness elsewhere? And they're like, well, yeah, that's starting to change. And we're like, okay, great. That says you're on the right track. We're on the path, and we like heal top and bottom in. And linea alba just needs more time to firm up for those tissues to get closer together and to become more firm. And there's like a lot of different restrictions that can keep tension on your rectus to stay open. So we look at different releases, oblique release, mesenteric lift, different things to release tension to allow that to get even closer. And your transverse abdominis, your deepest core layer, is a muscle that gets smaller as it gets stronger. So as we keep strengthening and connecting with your deep core, that allows the top layer, your rectus, your six-pack muscles, to get closer, and then we can get that tissue firmer, which was like Nancy was saying, we need it to be firm for optimal function, and that's so overlooked. We just hear so much about the width, I have width, and it's like you can actually be functional and have firmness and have a little bit of a width. So yeah, that's like really common.
The integrity is most important. That's what I care about the most.
Yeah.
But people have been kind of like drilled, and it's not their fault because it's what we used to teach is like, it's all about the gap. It's all about the gap. It's all about the gap. And then, as we learned more and we looked at more research and we've had more like, all of us collectively in the industry have had more patients and clients coming through, we realize actually, no, this function is really about the integrity of the linea alba. And if there's a 2-finger gap or whatever, but the integrity is good, that person can be fully functional without any signs of intolerance. And we would consider that person healed. Now, I mean, the separation of the rectus, it just depends on who you talk to. Some people want to see no gap at all. Some people say 2 fingers. Me, I like the closer the better, but I think it's totally acceptable as long as linea alba is firm and there's not signs of intolerance. I will consider a client healed even if they have a small separation. We have to remember, like, everyone's body is a little bit different. So you might have always for your entire life had a 1.5 centimeter separation at the linea alba before you ever had babies. And maybe that's just more of like a norm for your body. So you have to always remember, and that's one of the reasons why we have so much private, custom, one-on-one coaching inside of the Ab Rehab is every single body is different. And even that same body after every single pregnancy is also different. So we really have to be looking at the root causes of like what's going on and what would be appropriate for you and what's healing to you and what are goals to you. Because, for some people, it's really, really important for them to still have a noticeable like 6-pack, So for us, we're like, well, that's a little bit of like rectus dominance here and not technically what we would consider like optimal, but it's not really my place to say. So if it's important for someone to have abs look a certain way, then I want to get them to that goal while also making them as functional as possible and also healed. So that's kind of a plus of all the coaching that we do inside the Ab Rehab. Okay, so next question. This is a good one. I feel the back of my pelvic floor contraction is stronger than the front of my pelvic floor. Why can't I engage the front of my pelvic floor?
Yeah. Front to pelvic floor just gets offline. First off, the jobs of the back passage and the front passage are different. Back passage is going to be much stronger. And so the connection there tends to like be a lot more connected. Now, your front passage, the front top of your pelvic floor, the interior part of your pelvic floor can become offline for a number of different reasons, even prior to pregnancy. But say you delivered vaginally, for example, when babies come out, they can actually use your pubic bone as a guide and they'll kind of like push against that, which will cause a bit of trauma. An event occurred to the top of your pelvic floor. And your urethra sits in a bundle of muscles at the top of your pelvic floor. So it's very, very common for that trauma, that incident, to cause a little bit of damage, to cause those muscles to become offline. Now, say you didn't deliver vaginally, you had a C-section. Those muscles naturally, after an event occurred, the muscles want to come into like a shortened state to kind of protect and guard, potentially. This is not for everyone, but potentially. So when these muscles get into a shortened state and they're protecting an area, maybe there was tearing, maybe like all sorts of things, potential contributors. And then these muscles become frozen or lack of sensation, that mind to muscle connection goes away. So it's really about looking at what type of weakness you have, whether that's overactive and tight or that's offline, and addressing it for that. So it's really common for the top of anterior part of pelvic floor to just be more disconnected. A lot of times people will be like, can I stop urine? Can I practice that? Like, okay, try it once, but definitely don't keep doing that, because then that's what your body's going to learn to do. So that's kind of a way that someone will sometimes check. But
yeah, let's actually talk a little about that, because there's another question about being in the shower. Every time I have to,
this is
my husband does this every time he gets to the front door. He's like, oh, I got to go. Everyone out of the way. And I'm like, you got pelvic floor dysfunction.
Yeah, this is not female only land.
But let's talk a little bit about that, this habitual, I always go in the middle of the night, twice a night, and that's just the habit I've gotten into, and how that's kind of connected to.
Absolutely. It's potty training. It's like potty training your little one. Your mind to muscle connection, your mind to bladder relationship can be triggered when you create these associations, when you have a habit that you do over and over and over. Say you're hearing water, you're putting your key in the door, your mind is going to start to go, that's when I urinate, that's when I have to go. So if your body's used to that, it's going to repeat that, and now now you've potty trained yourself to do that. So one of the tips that we'll give is like when you know that moment is coming, can we start to take 5 deep breaths, relax pelvic floor, work through a full range of motion, then maybe calmly walk yourself to the bathroom if you still have to go, and starting to retrain that relationship. So it's so tricky and so interesting that that can occur.
Yeah, it just like to add, you really are teaching yourself habits. So like, for example, when I was growing up, I was never allowed, I had all these fucking dumb rules growing up, but whenever we would go to the bathroom in public, ever since I was literally able to go to the bathroom on the toilet, I wasn't allowed to sit on the toilet seat. So my mom would make me hover and pee.
Oh my gosh. She's like literally causing pelvic floor dysfunction.
Which literally teaches your pelvic floor to release in a quarter squat. Okay. Cool. Thanks, Mom. You know, like that's not a habit you want to teach yourself, you know? And I know people get weird about public toilet seats or whatever, but my ass, I sit the fuck down. Listen, I'm not catching any STD on my thighs, and that's the only thing that's touching the toilet seat. And if I'm really freaked out, it's a really dirty bathroom, I'll just put toilet paper down really quick. Then I'll sit my ass down and, you know, pee like I'm supposed to pee in a seated position, allow my pelvic floor to fully relax. What you don't want to do is teach yourself over time, teach your pelvic floor and that mind muscle connection that while I'm standing in the shower, I'm just going to pee. You know, because you do it over and over again, then it becomes a habit. And then all of a sudden, what if you're standing and you're working out with a load and then you start to pee? And it's like, it's not that far-fetched to see why that happened. You know what I mean? So like taking slow steps, kind of like Lindsey was saying, to sort of start retraining your mind muscle connection, retraining your pelvic floor, and then also maybe diving in and looking a little bit more at the pelvic floor, like what else is going on with the pelvic floor, and like root causes of other issues that you may be having with the pelvic floor that you're not actually linking to the pelvic floor, which actually brings me to another question that was really good. Okay, this one. Okay, this is a good one.
Ready?
Okay, I'm almost 6 weeks postpartum with my 4th vaginal delivery. I've joined Ab Rehab to help my pelvic floor. My OB suggested doing the Emsella chair. How do you pronounce? I don't even know how
I have no idea.
To help my pelvic floor. Are you familiar with that? It uses magnetic energy to painlessly contract the muscle of the pelvic floor, equivalent to 11,000 Kegels a day, they told me.
I can't.
I was just wondering if it's okay to start the Ab Rehab and also do that. No, it's not okay. I need you. This is why. Okay. So Kegels only help about 25. We've found that just solely doing pelvic floor contractions only help about 25% of women that are having pelvic floor issues, because typically most of the time, 75%, I would say even plus, the issue is not just happening in the pelvic floor. It's coming from something else. If you think about the core canister, the pelvic floor is the bottom of it. You have all these abs, to make it simple, above that. And what they are doing is heavily influencing the pelvic floor. I like to say the pelvic floor is a follower, not a leader. So if you're looking at the pelvic floor and you're like, oh, I'm leaking, let's do Kegels, let's do this EMS Ella chair or whatever it's called, chances are it's not going to fix the problem. It could make your problems actually worse. And unless you're doing a pelvic floor assessment and I wouldn't even say, I mean, would you even ever let someone do that? I would always recommend against a device like that, an external device. We want you to, listen, I understand EMS training and I do see benefit in it. And I understand that. For the pelvic floor, I mean, unless, I don't know, I just can't even think of a situation where I would say, yeah, let's like try it. You know what I mean? Because it's really probably not going to fix your issues. And we need to teach the core how to work all together as a canister. If you are isolating the pelvic floor over and over and over and over and over and over again, I mean, 11,000 times, like, oh my God, that is so many repetitions that you're working the pelvic floor independent of the rest of the core. When we know that the diaphragm and the TAs and every other muscle inside the core unit, and even lower, like in your hips, your glutes, your adductors, they actually all work together as a team. So when you're isolating it and only training that one muscle out of this entire team, it actually can create more dysfunction for you. And what we need to do is address the entire team, where the imbalances are in the entire team, which usually it does not start and stop in the pelvic floor. It usually happens above the pelvic floor, and then the symptoms are just presenting in the pelvic floor. So we really need to take a full body approach when we're healing the pelvic floor and diastasis, to be honest, really everything with the core. You can't isolate and just say, oh, I have like umbilical DR, I'm only going to do middle TA exercises. Well, no, not really. We really need to look at the entire body, and that's going to bring you faster healing and complete healing for good, which is what we're after.
Yeah, absolutely. When I heard that question, I like lost my pelvic floor thing. I was like, I can't. But it's like the other thing too, if you think about it, we like, and I tell this to clients a lot, is we want to work at the level of the weaker muscles. So a lot of times we come into a fitness, we think this is an exercise program, and it is, and we come into it thinking like, I'm going to go hard, I'm going to push hard, I'm going to make it happen. And that's like this idea, I'm going to do 11,000 Kegels in a 30-minute session. And it's like, that is going to, like, if a muscle is weak, it's going to go, what is this? What am I doing? It's going to spasm. It's going to lead to more dysfunction. So it's like, we want to work at the level of a weaker muscle and treat it with its like what it needs, and then build its strength up. And when we're going too much too soon, it's going to just overstimulate it and kick on other muscles to compensate.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. I was like, oh goodness, girlfriend.
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing is we're not hating. Like, we totally understand why you would ask the question.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of OBs and doctors and other people out there that are recommending devices like this, or they're just like a blanket statement of like, just do your Kegels and that will help your pelvic floor. And we know that that's not it anymore. And we know that, you know, most clients are actually having a hypertonic pelvic floor, which is a tense, overactive pelvic floor, and not an underactive, just weak pelvic floor. Both are weak, but if you have a really tense muscle that can't even release, you can't strengthen that muscle until you can release it. So first step is definitely not a Kegel. First step is finding ground zero. What does it feel like to fully release your pelvic floor? Because you don't know what it's like, because you've been walking around all day, all night for weeks, months, years, decades with your pelvic floor in a tightened, contracted position. We cannot strengthen a muscle that we cannot access. If you have a hypertonic pelvic floor because you have tension in the pelvic floor, which symptoms can be very similar to people that have a hypotonic pelvic floor, you could still be leaking, all these things. We cannot strengthen that muscle, which yes, it is weak, but we cannot strengthen it until we can access it. We cannot access it until we can release it. So inside the Ab Rehab, we take you through a full pelvic floor assessment where you work with us and we help you realize, is your pelvic floor functioning pretty well? And that's not really needs to be a focal point for us in your healing journey. Or are you having hypertonic tendencies? Are you having hypotonic tendencies? Are you having some prolapse? And then that is going to dictate what we're doing to customize your approach in the Ab Rehab, because someone with a hypertonic pelvic floor and a hypotonic pelvic floor are doing two very different things inside the Ab Rehab. So it's really important to if you're not going to work with us, to work with someone that can really like knows their stuff and can assess your pelvic floor for where you stand. Are you good? Are you hyper? Are you hypo? And then create protocols, release work, or exercises if needed to help you reach your goals for what's going on with your pelvic floor. But please don't assume that if you're leaking or whatever, that you have a hypotonic pelvic floor, because more often than not, you have a hypertonic pelvic floor. And doing isolated pelvic floor contractions will only in time make your dysfunction worse, and we want to see you get better. So just keep that in mind.
I think the other like interesting thing about this point too is like about this question is the OB part of it. Like her OB recommended this, and it's people are starting to learn, and we're starting to educate that like your OB has an incredible scope, but like it's not this, and it's hard because it's hard, especially for me too, sitting across from experts and they tell me something and I think to believe them, and it's like hard to know where to get that education from. I feel like you speak to this a lot. Like,
yeah, I mean that's the thing is like I have nothing but love for OBs. I mean, especially my own, like I love her practice. I have nothing but respect for OBs. What bothers me is when they go outside of their scope of practice and then they start trying to make factual claims that are not true to their patients about kinesiology, physical therapy, nutrition, that is where I'm just like, okay, like I don't go outside of my scope. And if you've ever worked with me, you know that if anything is outside my scope, I immediately defer to doctor. Like we will never cross that line. I just want to see OBs do the same for us. Like we have master's degrees in kinesiology and nutrition, and we have physical therapies on board for a reason. We've worked for years to get education in practice and practical experience in the field in these areas, none of which happens in school when you're getting a medical degree to become an OB. So I just hope that, you know, we respect you so much, OBs that are out there. We will never step on your toes. We will never overstep what is inside of our scope. I would just like to see that same courtesy thrown back our way when it comes to physical therapy, core and pelvic floor function, nutrition, exercise. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as a client too, it's like hard to like, people are starting to learn like where to ask that question. Because that would be like the go-to, right? Like, oh, I'll just ask my OB. It's like they're looking down there anyways. But
totally.
It's interesting. All
right, couple more questions. This one's a little long, but I think it presents like a good opportunity to talk about sort of what you could do before your next pregnancy. 36 years old, 2 years postpartum, small bladder, prolapse after second child. I've done some pelvic floor PT, which has helped a bit, but still some issues with leaking on jumping rope or similar movements. I want to have a third child, and I want to be as strong as possible so I don't worsen it during pregnancy. Very smart. I do bar, beach body, HIIT, lifting, yoga, flow when I can, not super consistent. Last delivery was quick, pushed fast, feels like it was strained too much. I also wore a belly binder, which I feel like made it worse. It did. As soon as I realized that it was making it worse, I stopped wearing it. I have a lot of pressure and had a lot of pressure and discomfort until 9 to 12 months postpartum. If I lift heavier, that feeling comes back for a couple days, then subsides. What are your thoughts?
Pressure management. Yeah. I mean, the belly binder alone, and we talk about this quite a lot, we don't want to rely on external devices. And what happened for her is that belly binder wrapped around her core. And then just like if you think of like squeezing a juice box, I squeezed the center of it, like whoof, pressure right into her pelvic floor. So yeah, exactly. So
this is a good visual.
That's your
pressure's got to go somewhere. So what I like to always like tell clients is there's 3 places basically pressure can go in your core. It can go up, it can go down, or it can go out the middle, essentially. So someone that has prolapse is a pressure management issue. I mean, that's what it is. So I don't recommend belly binders for like anyone. Maybe for extreme DR without prolapse, and you're working with a physical therapist in person and they're managing it and they have like for sure made sure that you're not sending pressure down and whatever. But even then, it's very temporary, it's strategic, and I really would only recommend it with like a CFMT or someone like that, you know? For us, I never recommend abdominal binders because if you take the pressure out of here, the pressure's going up or down, you know? Like up, indigestion, down, downward pressure on the pelvic floor. So we don't want either. So out of the gate, first sentence, small bladder prolapse, never would I put an abdominal binder on someone like that because they're already having a downward pressure issue. So if you're going to create more pressure in the middle of their core, it's probably going to send even more pressure down, which is just going to make her situation worse. When she's lifting heavy and then she feels pressure for a few days after, that tells me that you're sending pressure down when you're lifting. So what we like to do in the Ab Rehab with all of our clients, but like it would be very important for this one, is to step back from the strength workouts for a minute, which people get, you know, nervous about, like pausing their high intensity workouts and stuff. But it's only to be able to retrain your body how to do primal movements properly while managing good pressure and having good function. So we literally, in our first, our strength workouts, which we have strength workouts in the Ab Rehab that you don't start right away, but after we sort of lay the foundation with breathing, alignment, posture, we kind of get you going there. We activate the core. We make sure that the deep core is turned on and firing. Then we start layering in our strength workouts. And it starts very basic. And we work every plane of movement, and then we work every primal movement. But we build the primal movements from the ground up. So when we're looking at a squat, we're starting with like the most basic variation of a squat, and we're teaching your core how to fire and work and manage properly through that. And then we build all the way from the bottom to the top in phase 4 where you're doing jump squats. You know what I mean? And that's what we need to retrain the body properly and to manage pressure properly, because you can't go from, oh, I'm taking some time off from birth, and then you just go back in the gym and you pick up a barbell again. Now, can some people do it and get away with it? Absolutely. It happens all the time. But for someone like this, I would never recommend that for her. Really, it's important to build back step by step by step, fix the motor skills that are happening, that are leading to you bearing down and sending pressure down. And then we need to continuously check in, even after you're healed, even after we've built you back up on those primal movements from the basics to the most advanced levels. We still need to manage this forever. So you need to be able to understand what it feels like when you're sending pressure down. Not after the workout when you're feeling that pressure for a couple days, but during that lift. Like, we need you to be able to connect and be in tune and listen to your body in that movement when you're doing that deadlift and you're saying, I keep sending pressure down. I can't self-correct it. I'm going to sub this out today. I'm going to grab dumbbells instead of a barbell. I'm going to do single leg instead of bilateral. Because the thing is people say, well, can I deadlift heavy with DR or prolapse? And my answer is, I don't know. Can you? Let's try and see how you function doing it, but you'll never be able to know if you can or you can't unless you have this knowledge of your body and you kind of like start, with the assessments, or even if you don't want to work with us, but you have to have that baseline knowledge of what's going on with your body and what your tendencies are. And then we need to teach you how to manage them, improve them, or heal them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about like being in tune with your body, and it's so easy to just like push through something. And it's like this fine line of, when you're strong and when you're healed. Like, we love to push. Like, we know how to push, but we also know when we're like, okay, today's not the day. Yeah. Like, I need to listen, and I need to say, hey, for the long run, to do all the things you want to do long term, you've got to like put in the foundation now. And I think we should on the matter of like prolapse, like a way to think of it is like, when you sprain your ankle, the ligament is lengthened. In a prolapse, the vaginal wall is lengthened. So it's allowing an organ to sit into the vaginal canal. So it's like, how do we build strength and connection around those tissues to better support it so that you're not feeling a tampon falling out, you're not feeling this pressure down? Because if you have strength around your prolapse, then like you're not going to feel it. It's well managed. You can live with it, and you can run as hard or lift as heavy as you want. But it's like, can we set that foundation so you can do that long term?
Right. Yeah, totally. And that brings me to another question that I was actually, it's not in here, but it came in my DMs yesterday is, after we do the Ab Rehab or heal or whatever, like, is this something we're going to have to do forever? Or is it just like you fix it and you're done? And the thing is our goal in Ab Rehab is not to teach you how to cognitively engage your pelvic floor, your core, whatever. We do start with cognitive, where you're making that mind muscle connection. You're saying, okay, release the pelvic floor. Okay, engage the pelvic floor. Okay, create that pressure to support my spine in this movement. But eventually, we want to do it so many times and repeat it so many times and have so many repetitions throughout the time in the Ab Rehab that you end up correcting a motor skill. So now you can automatically fire. So you don't have to think about it. And that's really my goal for everyone. However, life happens and we go through stressful times, and really so much of it relates back to not just the exercise that you're doing, but how, you're breathing, how your posture is. And we all go through seasons where, we're working a lot at a desk, or we're breastfeeding a new baby, or we just kind of get lazy in our maintenance work. And then we kind of fall back into these patterns where we have to know, okay, it's time to check in and do some maintenance right now. So my answer to that is no, you don't have to do it forever. But you do have to spend some time like correcting the motor skills and healing the dysfunction. And then you need to take that knowledge base with you forever. So you don't have to do the exercises. You don't have to be a subscriber to the Ab Rehab forever. Definitely no. You don't have to work with us forever. Definitely no. Like, we want to teach you how to fish. And then when you're ready, I want you to go fish on your own. And I need you to have the knowledge and the awareness of your own body to know I'm slipping back into anterior pelvic tilt a lot. I can find I'm shifting my weight forward on my toes a lot, and I'm starting to get stuck. So now I have to really add into my routine. Like, I'll do this. I'm sure you have things that you do where I'm like, okay, I've been working a ton, and like I can just feel I'm just going into like too much kyphosis, and I'm feeling like I'm getting more stuck there than I should be. Because the thing is, you should be able to sit like this and work for a little while, have forward head, have kyphosis. You should be able to go in anterior pelvic tilt, posterior pelvic tilt, but you shouldn't feel like you're stuck in any of those positions. And that's when it becomes an issue. So I have times where I'm like, I really need to work on posture. It's actually something I've been working on recently because I'm like prepping for pregnancy, which is like a whole different thing, but really just trying to make sure like my posture is as good as possible before going back into pregnancy, which is you're gonna fight that posture, your entire pregnancy basically. And you need to be able to know when you need to add things in and what to add in, So if you have prolapse, and you're going to know that you're going to go back to the techniques and the protocols and the things that we've taught you to do to make sure you're managing it. If you feel like you're having a little bit of a relapse or whatever, you would say, or if your tendency is to have a hypertonic pelvic floor and you're really stressed and you find yourself clenching your jaw, and all of a sudden you check in with your pelvic floor and you're like, I'm holding my pelvic floor up right now, then maybe you're going through a period where you need to sit on like a little squishy ball and do some release work in the pelvic floor and just like breathe down and like feel it opening and check in with yourself a little bit more throughout the day, or maybe do some pelvic floor like routines where you're working on kind of releasing and kind of finding ground zero again. There's lots of different things that you will hopefully take with you outside of the Ab Rehab that you can apply and integrate into your routine, whatever your routine is, because we want to see you do whatever you love to do. If it's CrossFit, if it's marathons, if it's Pilates, like I want to see you do the fitness that makes you happy and that you love. I just want you to do it like smart, and I want you to train smart, and I want you to have the tools to know when it's time to troubleshoot or revisit some of the things that we've taught you in the Ab Rehab.
Yeah, 100%. Like on that point, it's like so much of what we bring in the first couple of weeks of Ab Rehab, we're taking all these things that are subconscious and we're making them conscious. Everyone's like, I didn't know. Like all of a sudden, like in your posture assessment, we see you're clenching your glutes and they're like, I had no idea, or I'm upper ab gripping. Or
yeah, that's a big one.
So you're like bringing all this consciousness to things you didn't know were automatically happening. And then we're going to work through so much that it becomes subconscious on the other side. It's like we want it to be automatic for you, but the only way to get automatic is putting so many reps in and to be aware. Can you be aware, step one, and then can you build and go back to like just having that foundation that Nancy's talking about. So
yeah. I mean, I've never met one client ever that has had perfect core function before doing, I mean, it just doesn't exist. I mean, whether it's a man, it's a woman, whether you've had a baby before or you haven't, I've never come across one client that has perfect posture, perfect breathing, perfect alignment, perfect function. Like they're not imbalanced at all. I mean, realistically, like we all are a little bit off everywhere. The point is we want to get as optimal as possible, have the knowledge and awareness to keep us from going too far to where it becomes dysfunction. And that's like my goal for everyone. Like, I don't want you to be perfect. None of us are perfect. I want you to be functional, optimally functional. And that's kind of what we work towards. Cool. What else should we talk about here? Maybe let's talk about VBAC. So like when someone comes in, do you have anyone right now that's like, I feel like I always get the question of like, I had a VBAC, so like, do I still need to do the C-section recovery protocols and stuff? And like, what do you kind of suggest for those clients?
Yeah, I mean, some of our protocols are specifically addressing your scar. So that is no matter what, whether you've had a VBAC or not, there's still scar tissue that forms. It's our body's mechanism to healing and protecting. So when you've had a VBAC, it's still important to address scar tissue work, especially if you never have. There's adhesions that adhere deep to like organs and muscle layers below that need to be addressed, because that can actually prohibit you from connecting with your lower TAs if there's a bunch of scar tissue there. So that's one of our biggest protocols, I would say, especially even if you have had a VBAC. We also incorporate like a specialized C-section breath. Nancy goes through this whole like cat hiss wind tunnel thing, if you know what it is.
I have to shoot that, actually.
You do.
I haven't shot that. I just remembered. Let's reshoot that.
Yeah.
We need to add that to our list, Brie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do love, I haven't seen a ton of like research around this,
Yeah.
but when you think of like the mental side of really everything with fitness and health, it's really so interconnected. And like we know that our body holds on to trauma, and that trauma is directly reflected in our tissues and really our ability to access certain parts of our body, even muscles. Like for a C-section, when we're cut there during a C-section, we do lose connection with our lower TAs, but it also, in my professional and personal opinion, you also lose connection there because your body is shielding you from trauma that has happened down there. Surgery is trauma, whether you wanted the C-section or it was an emergency C-section and you didn't want it. Like, it's still trauma. Any surgery is trauma, So what I do love for my VBAC clients, which I'll never have a VBAC, I will always be a C-section mom, but I do love that their body is able to fully complete, and this is not for elective C-sections. This is for moms who wanted a vaginal birth, who ended up with a C-section, and then they had a vaginal birth afterwards. I do love that for them, and I think that can be very beneficial, and I don't have research to necessarily support it, but my professional opinion aligns, and you can probably see how it's connected when I explain. But when your body wants to birth a baby vaginally and then you can't, it creates a little birth trauma. It creates sort of, some mental challenges for some moms. And then when they have another pregnancy and they're able to have that baby go through the birth canal, come out the vagina, it is like a completion process for your body that I think mentally helps us heal. And because it mentally helps us heal, I think it physically also can help us heal. It also, if you think about the baby's head going through the vaginal canal and all the way in, all that scar tissue that was there from that first C-section, you get to stretch that from a way that a physical therapist never will be able to do. So I think that also really yields great benefit to VBAC moms.
Yeah.
But with that said, there is still scar tissue. You still have been cut across lymph nodes. So lymphatic drainage could be an issue for you. Lower TA connection can still be an issue for you. Even if you're a VBAC mom that could have started at the C-section, it could have started at something that didn't have anything to do with the C-section. So there are things that we do, like, a C-section breath to try to reconnect. It really helps us to kind of like reconnect with those lower TAs. We do lymphatic drainage. We do tissue work on all three layers, skin, muscle, and organ layer, because there's scar tissue on all of it. And one thing that I would like for everyone to understand is if you've ever had a C-section or, any surgery, really, the scar that was left is really like a black hole, and it will continue to accumulate scar tissue for the rest of our lives. And there's things that we do in life that can create more adhesions or to help create less adhesions. And that goes everything from the food that you're putting in your mouth, like if you are eating foods that are inflammatory or that you are intolerant to, that can create adhesions down here, which could get, attached to the C-section scar. And you have to remember it goes 7 layers down. So it's not just a scar on the skin, it's a scar on every layer under it, all the way down to your uterus, So being sedentary, always sitting in a chair, that can create adhesions. One thing that I love this quote so much is, for everyone, not just C-section moms, but your body is cement waiting to harden.
Oh, goodness.
Isn't that good?
It's so true.
It's so true. And if you continue to avoid it because there's trauma there, or you're just like, fuck it, or you just want to avoid it, it will just continue to exacerbate over time. That could be slowly, or that could be a lot more quickly because maybe you are sedentary, maybe you're eating really inflammatory foods, or whatever else. There's a genetic factor as well with adhesions. So yes, we still need to address a C-section scar on all 3 layers using, at least at the very minimum, we got to do tissue work, I would say, for VBAC moms. But it's really important to address all of it, I think, still.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
What else should we add? Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Oh my gosh, I was sitting with like a circle of friends the other day, and it's so fun. I'm sure you get this. It's so hard when people find out sometimes like what you do, because you're like, they know that they need it, but they also are like, I don't want to ask for it, and you don't want to push it, and you're like, well, I'm here to help if you want it. So I had this.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. So I had these like girls, and they were like talking about like, they're like, oh yeah, I totally like leak, like she's postpartum by like 6 months or something. she's like, I went for a run and like I leaked a bit of it. And she's like, maybe just next time I'll like put a pad on. And they like started laughing. And I was like, I literally like I usually don't speak up, right? But I was like, oh no, you shouldn't do that. I like kind of made a joke of it. I was like, no, you should actually like fix that. Don't put a pad and go for a run. Like, and it's like wild. We hear clients that come in, like I've had a client recently that was like, oh yeah, I soak through like multiple pads and I just am a long distance runner. So I just like do it. And I'm just, oh, my like heart breaks, right? Like I can't.
Man, adult diapers are going to outpace baby diapers in like another 2 years. And there's more than one reason for that, I'm sure, But I actually met with a surgeon who's a vaginal reconstruction surgeon. He's here in Newport Beach. And we were trying to find a way to sort of like work together a couple of years ago, but we're kind of like doing different things. I don't really think it'd be like a good fit necessarily, but he's super passionate because he's like, incontinence is an epidemic in this country. I forget the stats, but it's astounding. By the time you hit like 70 years old, you're wearing a diaper, you're wearing a pad every single day, you cannot hold your urine. And it's like almost always this is fixable and like easily fixable. Like you could do it right at home with very minimal equipment. And the surgery fails more than it succeeds. I forget the stats. It's like 3 out of 5 will have to do the surgery again, or it fails or whatever. And it's just like, it's super frustrating, but it doesn't surprise me because people just want the easy way out. I mean, even my like best friends or family members, it's like, they know what I do for a living, but they're like still going to go for the surgery. And I'm just like, God, it's like, that's not going to fix the problem. The problem is still going to be there. You're just going to slap, and not even, you're slapping a Band-Aid on something, but you're creating other issues. Why slap a Band-Aid on that issue?
Your body's now going through surgery. Like the whole trauma of surgery alone, like you got to heal from that and then have the strength to support the fix. Like,
I know. I had a friend actually that did like the mommy like tummy tuck, and I don't push myself. Like, I don't even say that anymore. Like, if someone says like, oh, I'm wearing a pad, I just smile and nod because I've just learned that it's just not, if they want help, they know what I do, they'll come and find me, kind of thing. But that was only after trying a million times and like being disappointed every single time. And then finally I'm like, I'm just not offering any help anymore.
In fairness,
to anyone.
I actually didn't know this person. She was being introduced to me and I was like, oh no, you shouldn't do that. And she like laughed it off. And then I was like, I'm never going to see her again. Yeah. My close friends, I'm like, I'm here if you need me.
Totally. Yeah. So I had a close friend do like the mommy tuck. She had diastasis, a couple hernias, which probably did need to be fixed surgically. But the DR, no. She also had a hypertonic pelvic floor. So they did the surgery, and all of a sudden she has terrible indigestion.
Oh, probably.
That now she's taking medicine for. And it's a pressure management issue. Okay? It's a pressure management issue. When you're tied into in a mommy tuck, or whatever it's called, a mommy makeover, or whatever it's called. They literally sew you up and like cinch you in. And it's like, everyone's like, oh, my waist got so much smaller when I did my like mommy talk. I'm like, yeah, I wonder why they just put you into a corset and tightened it as like, as tight as they can, which is okay if when you get out of that, if you really want to do it, like I'm not saying, it's your life, it's your body, like your body, your choice, but afterwards, we got to teach you how to manage that new pressure. I mean, it's like when people come like after pregnancy, sex felt so good in pregnancy all the way to the end. And then after pregnancy, all of a sudden, like things feel so different down there. And I was like, I know it doesn't make sense to other people why, but to us, it makes perfect sense because when you're pregnant, you have all this intra-abdominal pressure from the baby, from the pregnancy, whatever. And then literally instantly when that baby is taken out, you lose all of that pressure. So now you're trying to remanage this pressure and it feels very different to you and you don't know how and whatever. Same sort of idea happens after a surgery like that where all of a sudden you have a totally different like pressure system happening in here, but you don't know how to manage it through your pelvic floor. You don't know how to manage it through your breath, through your back, and then you end up with all these other issues. So sure, the DR is closed. But now you got pelvic floor issues. Maybe you'll get prolapse eventually. And now you got terrible indigestion because the pressure's got to go somewhere. And you got to learn how to manage that pressure in your core. You can't just not have it. Like, it's going to happen no matter what, you know, when you're doing, when you're bracing, when you're whatever, you're creating pressure in your core. So just if you're going to do the surgery, all I ask or recommend is that afterwards you learn how to manage that new pressure. Learn how to breathe. Learn how to manage pelvic floor. Because if not, it can exacerbate over time, and you might not notice it right away, but it can cause a lot of issues down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we got to bring up like the hot topic subject.
What?
Sex. Like you mentioned it, and I feel like people are like, wait, sex gets better from Ab Rehab?
Oh, yeah.
And like, why? Like,
okay, I have to just share something personally. So I don't want to brag on my pelvic floor, right, guys.
I feel like I feel like the bar of your pelvic floor has to be like, in my mind, I'm like, Nancy has a really good pelvic floor. Like,
well, I have seen some of the best pelvic floor therapists because, like, I think, I know, because it's my body and whatever. But I do like to get like other opinions. So I'll go to the best.
Is it the best
pelvic floor therapist? And she's like, I'm just gonna like check your engagement and your tone and stuff. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, tell me more.
Yeah,
how good is it?
And then she's like, let me do, like, do your like engagement and stuff. And like when they're impressed, I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. Like, wow, you have a lot of control of your pelvic floor. I'm like, you're right. You're fucking right, I do.
And I can help you if you'd like it. Would you like some?
And then I also love when people ask me to do a diaphragmatic breath. I'm like, well, this is my time to shine. I'm like, all right, ready? And then like, I actually had this one therapist I work with in Dallas tell me that he's never had a patient ever do a breath like mine, which was just such a compliment because you work so hard at like trying to master these things that you're teaching people, so and you don't really have anyone teaching you, like I don't really have, I don't have a core specialist that I'm working with. Yeah. But when I go see these people and they like compliment me, they're like, wow, your diaphragmatic breath is like
that dispersion of pressure.
Yes. I'm like, it just like makes me feel good. But so the orgasm thing is something that I think is not noticed. Like people don't expect it coming in and doing the ab rehab. But we hear often like, oh my God, sex is so much better. My orgasms are like so much quicker and like more powerful. Mm-hmm. And I was just actually thinking last night when I was having sex with my husband that like, okay, this is like TMI, but you can like do this thing when you have really good control of your pelvic floor. You can do like pelvic floor contractions like while your partner's like going down on you or like while you're having sex, and it like gets you off so fast. Yes. Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. And I've done it even when he's like inside, and he like the first time I did it, my husband was like literally stopped and was like, what was that? And I was like, I'm sorry, has no one else done this before? Like, I'm like, oh, just really good.
And next thing you know, he's like getting off in like 2 minutes. Yeah. Like, okay. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, and it's like hard to explain. I'm like no like sex therapist or whatever. I'm sure they're out there, but just try it. Like once you really gain control and you can like really like, okay, it sounds, okay, I'm not even going to say that because it's like too graphic, but like, just try it. Like a nice like lift, like lift up and in, like as they're doing it. And like, holy moly, it is like great orgasm.
Well, if you think about it, and this is like how I explain it to clients, is like an orgasm is a lot of quick contractions. So if your muscle fibers are offline or stuck in a shortened position, like that's the range of motion that your orgasm has. Whereas like if we're going to start to work on a full range of motion, you're going to relax your pelvic floor, you're going to engage it, which are like things that you can utilize in other fashions as we're talking about. And that full range of motion is going to like increase your orgasm because now your pelvic floor has got like max strength and max range of motion, and it's got more sensation because you're bringing blood flow to the area. So it's like all of those things start to like translate, and they're like, oh, why would that work? And you're like, that's exactly what we're practicing.
Yeah, it's so true. Way to bring it full circle.
Yeah.
Good call. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. So try it at home and like let us know in the comment section how it goes. But we get that comment a lot from people, and they're like, my sex life has never been this great. And that makes me so happy because I feel like a healthy sex relationship inside your marriage is really important, especially when you start having babies. You like need that like connection to kind of like keep things going because things get busy and whatever. So makes me feel good. I love what I do.
I know, same. Absolutely love it. It's like the one piece in your relationship that you don't have with other people. So
Yeah.
like that needs to be special with that person. And like when that's good, especially when you're going through children and raising a family and all the stresses of adulting, like having that be so like, it's just, everything's good.
It is.
Yeah.
Totally. Thanks for being a part of the team.
Of course. Thanks
We
for having
love
me.
Lindsey. Lindsey and I actually used to work together a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then like we lost touch, and then someone like I was looking for trainers, and someone that I'm friends with like was still working out in her class. It was like, what about Lindsey Davis? And I was like, oh my God, I forgot about Lindsey Davis. Like, what is she up to?
Yeah.
I actually thought you were living somewhere else, but you had already moved back here or something.
I had moved
Not that I
around.
guess would have mattered, but
Yeah.
it was meant to be. And then I actually had someone, when I first hired Lindsey, oh my God, it was like, I'm so sorry for how you came on board. It was horrible. Things were so busy.
I love being thrown into the sharks and the wolves. And that's basically what happened. It was like New Year's Day. And I was like, okay, I'm starting full time. And it was like, here you go. And I was like, let's fucking go.
Yeah, I'm like, are you sure you want to come on board full time? This is something you really want to do. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It was really crazy. Actually, the thing is I think I blacked out during that whole period of time. I don't
Yeah.
even remember that. Like,
Yeah. It was mid everything. Just a mess.
it was like so wild and crazy. But I had this right after I hired Lindsey, and she like came on. She posted something on Instagram, and then I like reposted it on my stories. And I got this DM from this psychic.
Yeah. You sent it to me.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't remember exactly, so like correct me.
Yeah.
But she basically said like, I'm a psychic, and this is like what I do for a living, and I can just tell that this girl is like, what did she say? It's like, this girl is like gonna be like
something like
such
that.
a big part of like what you're doing or whatever. And at the time, I was kind of like, yeah, I mean, like,
You're like, okay.
maybe, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I thought it was really cute. So I like sent
Yeah.
it to Lindsey. Anyway, I'm like super like open-minded to like
Yeah.
anything and everything. So I was like took it as a sign, like, okay, maybe this means like, you know, we'll go on to like work together for a really long time and whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was just like it was just like there was so much going on in the beginning. I didn't even know like what was what. I'm just like praying that like we're getting to every single client and like no one's.
Yeah.
We got so busy, guys, so fast, and it was just really hard to keep up with. Like, you guys probably didn't notice, but like on the back end,
It was busy.
we were like fucking dying over here.
Yeah.
It's all good now, though. But
Yeah.
it's been such a pleasure having you. And
Thank
maybe
you.
if you're watching, the person that like wrote me, like, you can give us another reading here.
Yeah. Give me an update. How am I doing?
But you were right so far. She was such a great hire, and it's been a pleasure to watch you grow. And
So Nancy and I knew each other long ago working together, and I followed Nancy as she like had her first, and just through Instagram, social media, and like watched what she did. And then second, I knew you were doing this postpartum program, and I like have all like speaking of energy and being open to stuff, like I've just always had you in the back of my head. And I told my husband, I was like, I will pay that woman whatever it costs to do what she did, because I need that. Like, and I like just always like you were always in the back of my head. I was like, I don't care what she pays, like what she charges, like I will pay for it. And then like I don't know, I just feel like that energy like kept. I don't know. And then when you reached out to me, I was like, get out of town, like Nancy. Fuck yeah, I want to work for you. And now I'm like the head trainer of the Ab Rehab program.
I know, it's so wild how life happens
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. So, well, it's been a pleasure, and we love
Yeah.
having you. So,
Thank you.
And we have like literally the exact same color hair, which
I
is
know.
the
It's-
craziest thing. Like, do we look like sisters? I
Like
feel like we
twins.
must.
There's like lots of similarities. She'll like
It's like so rare to have
Yeah.
this hair color.
Yeah,
I think we're like less than 1%.
I know. I
Look
love
at
it.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're like the same height. I'm always like, oh, my twin. like
know.
we're here.
So put you in my body double.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, that'll wrap it up for us today. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If there's anything that you want us to like cover in the future, you can add to the comment section, or reach out to us on Instagram. We love you so much. If you're already inside the Ab Rehab, we'll see you in the app, and everyone else, we'll see you on social.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.